She loves me. She loves me not. She loves me. She loves me not. She loves me. It's a romance scam. Ladies and gentlemen, it's just about 2 weeks away to Valentine's Day, and we wanted to spend a moment talking about Valentine's Day fraud and romance scams that are costing Canadians millions. Of course, people looking for love, prime hunting ground for romance fraud, where emotions are high and trust comes easier. And what's changing things is the scale and sophistication from those scammers. They're using AI-powered chatbots. They're using celebrity deepfakes, long con investment schemes, trying to build emotional bonds before hitting you up for money. Let's talk about this a little bit more. Larry Zelvin's with us. He's head of security at BMO, security advisory at BMO Financial Group. Larry, welcome back to the show.
Well, hi, it's great to be with you again. Thanks for having me.
So why don't we get to off the top here? Why don't we try and put it in perspective here, the numbers here? How many Canadians are getting duped? How much money are they parting with in these romance scams?
You know, Elias, it's hard to say because, unfortunately, a lot of people aren't reporting because they're embarrassed when these things happen. So, look, some folks are reaching out to their banks. They're reaching out to their credit card companies. They're reaching out to the Canadian Anti-Fraud Center. But I'm afraid those numbers don't reflect anywhere near what the reality is because, again, a lot of folks are going, oh, my gosh, I can't believe I did this. My family's going to yell at me. Everybody's going to, tell me I messed this up. But when it comes to money, honestly, the numbers can be per person anywhere from a few thousand to hundreds of thousands. Actually, I even heard one recently that was upward of $1 million. So Jeez. The numbers are eye-watering. So people have to be really careful out there.
When it gets, the hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars, tens of thousands, or even to the million figure, how do people finally figure it out? Like what's the commonality, or when someone realizes they've been duped?
Yeah, well, let me first maybe give you a sense of how do they find you. And unfortunately, they'll go on your social media. This is going to be really shocking to folks, I think, but they're actually looking at obituaries. They're finding if a spouse has all of a sudden lost somebody they've been with for a very long time, knows the other spouse is now lonely, vulnerable. They begin a conversation. They begin a fictitious relationship. Look, some of this can happen on dating apps. Some of it can be social media. Some of it they'll call or text. But look, when you're lonely, you're sad, and you are really looking for just someone to chat with, that's how they get you. So, look, they'll usually play the long game. So they will start just being very nice. They will find common interests, and then they'll start professing their love very quickly or push for an intense relationship. The person normally will claim to live far away or overseas and always has excuses for never being able to meet in person. Then all of a sudden, once they've got you, they're going to have a story of an urgent financial need, such as an emergency or a travel expense, to really get your sympathy going. And that's when the request for money starts coming in, and that's when the fraud is occurring.
Larry, I can hear the people listening to us right now, and they're yelling at the radio. And they're probably saying, well, it's their these people are stupid. How could you be duped by this? They don't want to see you in person. They don't. So what do we say to that? Because you know what? I've spoken to people who have been duped over the years. They can't believe it either. So why don't we get into that about just who is being scammed here and just how prevalent it is?
Well, Liza, honestly, I've had conversations because a lot of folks share their stories with me and go, what do I do? And it's men and women. It is older folks and it's younger folks. It is folks who are online just trying to find dates. Look, there are dating apps out there that are very reliable, but unfortunately, there are a lot of others that are not and being purely used by scammers. So when you look at the population, it really is everybody. But I will tell you, the folks that are being most scammed the most often are people who are older. Look, they're socially isolated. Their kids may be grown. They may be having medical issues. But, they are looking for someone to converse with. And, oh, my gosh, if they're attractive and all of a sudden they're very interested and it starts becoming romantic, look, they're appealing to that sense of love and that opportunity, which is wonderful up until the point where they want to steal your money.
Let me ask you about the work that's being done behind the scenes at BMO, and I imagine at all the other financial institutions, on trying to stop this? I don't know if it goes down to training with tellers or, the algorithms detecting how things are done on someone's account. Tell me about the work being done to catch these people while it's happening.
Well, look, it's an all of Canada approach. There is a anti-scam coalition that is being formed. The RCMP is very heavily involved. Obviously, the Bankers Association and banks themselves. The problem becomes is that, these relationships that develop online and go on for days, weeks, sometimes months, even when, let's say, a bank or a loved one, a child, someone who's a very good friend goes, look, I really don't think this is right. It is really hard to talk these people down because they're like, no, you're wrong. We're in love. They are wonderful to me. I don't want to lose this relationship. They're in peril. I have to give them the money. So it's almost like they have been brainwashed to a degree, and talking them down is really hard, even when your spidey sense says this is a problem.
How much is artificial intelligence exacerbating the problem? And I'm thinking about the videos I've seen of how on celebrity deepfakes and that kind of stuff, how you can make yourself look like anyone. Just how bad is it getting due to increased technology that these scammers have access to?
I will tell you, it is terrifyingly good. It used to be, honestly, they can make themselves sound like they have been born and raised and lived in Montreal all their lives, or pick in any other Canadian city or wherever you may live. And they could actually be living in Asia. They could be living in South America or Europe and have a very heavy accent, either in French or English. But thanks to AI, they're able to speak to you in real time and make it sound like they grew up in your neighborhood and sound like everybody else you know. So that's what AI is doing. You can't go, geez, that person sounds like they may be from a different country or a different region. They're going to sound like they grew up next door to you, and you're going to be really drawn to that because you're like, wow, this is somebody who lives nearby, so I can trust them.
With Larry Zelvin, who is head of security advisory at BMO Financial Group, we're talking about romance scams as we head towards Valentine's Day. Now, Larry, we've tied it into Valentine's Day, but should we? Do you see ebbs and flows here? Do you see times of the year where these scams become more prevalent?
Absolutely, and Valentine's Day is one of those occasions. Look, people are looking for a relationship. They may have just broken up, because it's Valentine's Day. But Valentine's Day is a peak. Another peak is during the holidays in December. People are lonely. The New Year's time frame during the religious holidays. But these are occurring all year round. As I said, unfortunately, these folks are going on obituaries to find folks. But we do see peaks during the holiday seasons, especially around Valentine's Day, because, again, folks are maybe more motivated to go look for someone that they're hoping to be partners with or maybe share their lives with.
What's the solution here?
Well, the solution is what we're doing now. A lot of it is education. Look, there are things that are being done from a technology perspective, but they're far from adequate. And we are trying. We're all trying. So look, folks, here's a couple of red flags that let me share with you. Just be very careful what you post online. Scammers can use your personal details to manipulate you, such as if you're posting on social media, I just had a breakup, or, hey, does anybody know anybody that, I may be able to interested in? Look, don't ever, ever, ever send money to someone you haven't met in person. That is a huge red flag. Also, stick to reputable dating sites, as I mentioned, and then also be careful if all of a sudden somebody wants you to, give them money in gift cards, if they want you to use Interac, if they want to use cryptocurrency. Again, those are all red flags because they are real-time payments. And even if you report it to your bank or your credit card company, we can't get it back because they've already been sent. One of the other things is just be very careful. Don't send intimate pictures or videos of yourself because that could be used to blackmail you. So now you have another problem going on. And then lastly is, look, share your concerns with a trusted friend or family member. If you need, talk to your bank and go, hey, have you guys seen this? This is a romance scam. I will tell you that if you go bmo.com/security, we give all these pointers on these kind of scams and others. Also, Canadian Anti-Fraud Center is another great place. But folks, unfortunately, you're going to have to do some of this work yourself. because you are going to be your best protection against this.
And Larry, obviously we talked a lot about what's happening online, whether it's through dating apps or through Facebook and other measures. Does it extend to the real world? Should we spend just one moment here talking about how this type of romance scam can happen in person and face to face?
It does, and it can. And look, that's a great point. So again, just be very careful about giving money. Make sure you really know these individuals well. Make sure that you are not being conned or manipulated. We are seeing the higher numbers using electronic media such as phones, text, emails, social apps, and so on and so forth, just because the fraudsters can actually manage more than one people. They can manage a dozen or so at a time normally. Yeah. But when you have that physical presence, folks, you got to be careful with that as well. But the good news is at least if that happens, you can report it to law enforcement and take measures in that regard. But yeah, you have to be safe all across the board.
Larry, thanks for coming on today. Appreciate your time.
Elias, wonderful. Thank you, folks. Enjoy your Valentine's Day and best of luck.
Now I got to get flowers. Everything else that I got to do for 2 weeks from now. Thanks, Larry. That's Larry Zelvin. He's head of security advisory at BMO Financial Group.
I'm Dylan Playfair.
And I'm Tyler Smith.
We're putting loneliness in the penalty box by talking to some of our favorite athletes about the importance of friendship.
This is Bromance.
Bromance is brought to you by Charm Diamond Centers, proudly Canadian-owned and operated. Charm has been part of your love stories and bromances for over 50 years. And you can find Bromance on the iHeartRadio network or wherever you get your podcasts.